Hey everyone, a bright belated Easter morning to you, celebrating the day our good Savior Jesus Christ rose again from the dead so that we too may have hope of eternal life beyond death one day. And this is Sarah's night with Let's Play Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening. This is kind of an LP that came off the top of my head, but I'm pretty much eager to get to it as while it's not objectively the best game in the Legend of Zelda series, of course, most people would attribute that to A Link to the Past or Ocarina of Time, it's still my personal favorite, even though I myself do not think it is objectively the best. Because, well, this is probably mostly on the part of nostalgia. I played this so many times over as a kid, I have pretty, fond memories of doing this game a lot as a child, especially helping my friends through it all the time as each of us played through it for the first time at pretty much the same time, So we were kind of helping each other along, reporting back to school every day. We'd meet back up in class and we're like, hey, how far did you get on this last night? And for the others who had gotten to that point or further, we'd give them hints on how to get through the next dungeon and whatnot. But yeah, I'm very personally fond of this game, and I think that it's easily one of the best Game Boy games out there. This is definitely the one that I was playing all the time on long car trips and such. Now, I might have mentioned this before, I actually do not have really any Zelda games under my belt in terms of what I've LP'd, other than the second Zelda game on the NES, Adventure of Link. But this one, I'd say, again, like I said, it's my personal favorite, and I like to think that I'm just as skilled at it, despite how long it's been since I played it as Adventure of Link, so this should make for a decent LP without me really bumbling around. Even though, of course, it's been 15, 20 years since I played it all the time as a kid, I like to think that it was often enough to remember most of the game pretty well. So in this game, for those of you who don't know, even though I'm sure most of you watching had to have known about this game if not played it before several times yourselves, I think in the proposed Zelda timeline that you can find at Game Trailers or was it Screw Attack? I think it was either Game Trailers or Screw Attack, and also the Angry Video Game Nerd that has like a video depicting a proposed timeline of the Zelda games, how they all fit together. And in this one, it was kind of like this is a game that actually takes place just before the very first game on Zelda, very first Zelda game on the NES, just simply called Legend of Zelda, where Link shipwrecks on this island called Kohonlit. This does not take place in Hyrule, unlike most of the other games. And, he has to, traverse all these dungeons as usual and defeat a boss ultimately at the end of all of it in order to escape off the island. This really isn't to save Kohonlit from anything or Hyrule. Just, this is what he has to do. This is what a guy has to do in case he ever gets shipwrecked on this island with no way out otherwise, and he wants to leave. And it was like, I think the way it goes is in that proposed timeline by Game Trailers and the Angry Video Game Nerd. It was like Link was on his way, knowing that Ganon had taken over Hyrule or something after a huge war, and he was on his way back from, I don't know, heavy training as the hero of time or something somewhere, and so on his way back to Hyrule to discover that it had been completely taken over by Ganon, he needed to put together the Triforce of Wisdom in order to be a match for Ganon and retake Hyrule back in the name of Princess Zelda, who has been captured, all the events in the first game. It's like on his way back, this is what happens to Link. He gets shipwrecked on this island and has to find a way off. So I really actually kind of like this music here. I don't know, I played this game a lot on car trips, as I said before. This was, like most Game Boy games, it was ideal to pass the time. And I just keep thinking of all the times that my grandparents took me and my sister to Florida when we were children, like 5 or 6 years in a row, to Daytona Beach, Florida, to spend a week there and just have fun at the beach and all. And I don't know, somehow this music reminds me of that, just has that sort of on the beach feeling. I really don't know how to describe it, but as of right now, if you weren't, if you were paying attention while I was rambling on earlier, that the people whose house I just left, who rescued me from the seashore, Marin and Taryn, father and daughter pair, they were telling me that when I woke up that they had left my sword at the beach, or either that or they just guessed that it washed up there, and they simply didn't find it with me when they found my unconscious body after the shipwreck here. But so I was unarmed, having to travel the beach just now and find my sword washed up, and that's where this owl comes in. And he's kind of like the Obi-Wan Kenobi of this game. He's going to be showing up from time to time, the wizened old figure who helps me along and kind of gives me hints on what to do next. And so he's telling me that, yeah, you're about to have to go on an adventure, all over the island. Several instances of danger, slaying monsters, and traversing these dungeons, all in order to wake up the windfish so that he can, I don't know, whisk you off this island to where you need to go. And I just now noticed Link's sword is totally clear. It actually does not have a solid color. You can kind of see the design of the beach and the edge of the rocks through it. That's interesting. But I guess Game Boy can only do so much. These graphics are actually pretty detailed, I think, considering. And I like how that little sea urchin right there, who was just minding his own business, happened to get caught in Link's little, hey, I gotta make a cool pose now that I found my sword again. Gets caught up in that and has to die for it. And I never really thought on what these objects right here were. I guess they're I was always fascinated with the fact that I can't move them or pick them up or anything, but I guess they're like coconuts off a palm tree or something. And of course you recognize these Octoroks here. So yeah, finding the sword was even quicker and easier than I thought. I like how, and now that I think about the first time I went through this game, and I was asking my friends from school that I was the last one to buy this game from Toys R Us, unlike them, and they were already well into it. I was like, guys, where's this sword at the beach? Somehow I could not find my way to it. It took me I probably wandered around for the greater part of an hour, at least, and here I did, just now, found it in less than 5 minutes. But yeah, for the owl just actually told me to go north into this forest. This is kind of the first major bit of the game here where I'm gonna be testing my skills up against monsters and all. But first, now that I think about it, there is a library here where I believe we can kind of get a glimpse into the history of Kohonlit Island and discover game hints and all that. So just for nostalgia's sake, let's go ahead and do that. Now that I actually don't remember. The kid just told me to try entering a house if I'm low on hearts, and I just had a vague flash of memory that somehow, I think your health slowly recovers like you're resting in that house or something, even though, all you have to do is simply walk around, I guess, or wait here for a while and you'll be good. Okay, so that's information on how to pick up a bomb and then throw it. Of course, we won't be getting a bomb for a while, I don't think. Properties of warp holes, there's a few on Kohonlit Island like that. All you gotta do is, jump into them and you'll end up elsewhere on the island. And I think if you jump into that same well, you'll go right back to where you were in the first place. Pretty easy stuff. So this, you can select your favorite item for A and B buttons. So this is a lot like the controls on the NES Zelda game, the first one, where you can only carry 2 different items actively at once, and use the A and B buttons to, to make use of them on screen. So island map by pressing the select button, and dark parts are places I've not yet visited. So of course, there's probably only highlighted so far if we looked at the map at this time. Ah, how convenient. Okay. Secrets of the Whirling Blade. Oh, okay. That was just pressing and holding the A button if I got the sword equipped to it, and that'll give me like a powered up attack just like in other classic Zeldas. So that one's telling me the use of the shield. This is not a chest. What? You knew that? Okay. Oh, okay, every bookshelf says that. I'm not sure why it told me that. I wasn't going to it thinking it was a treasure chest. I was going to it wondering if there was... Oh, okay, so here's something more about Kohonlit rather than, you know, kind of outside of the gaming world where they're telling you the player the controls. Gasp. What's this? You can't read the tiny print without the aid of a magnifying glass. Okay, so that's for later. Critical gaming event, I assume. Move the cursor, look up the name of a place if you want to look at this map. Oh, okay. So here's a full-on map, I just won't be able to... You know, that makes me, now that I think about it, why doesn't Link just sort of, I don't know, run to the nearby printer, right quick, make a copy of this, carry it with him? But no, once we go back outside and try to use the map, you know, during actual gameplay, well then, simply not going to happen. We're only going to be able to know the parts that we've explored already. Like, pretty much just the beach right here and Kohonlit Village, or whatever this village is called, I actually don't remember offhand. This is the only parts that will be highlighted. And this is the forest where we're about to wander into. This is a shop. A quadruplet's house. Wait, what? Okay, I actually don't remember that offhand. That's Merritt and Terran's house where they took me to safety at the beginning of the game. Oh, there's a dungeon right there. Now that I think about it, I believe first dungeon is down here at the beach somewhere. Maybe it's this right here. Yep, Tail Cave. It was actually kind of my favorite dungeon in the whole game now that I think about it. Yeah, that was level 2. Here's up on Death Mountain, which is pretty much most of the end of the game. And really, now that I think about it, there's only like 2 different areas populated by humans in this whole entire island. I mean, other than out here in the wild, you know, there will be a few single houses here and there, but these are like the only 2 human villages right here, Merritt and Terran's village, and here, the animal village. I think it's called the animal village. It's actually a bunch of like animal people, but they talk and act just like humans, so... Yeah, so that's the map of Kohonlit Island. And for now, we'll just forget about the village nearby. We'll go into that in detail later, but we'll go ahead and take this heart piece down here. Thankfully, I did not need the feather to actually jump into that well. I could actually use the awning above. And then here we are going into the forest. It's a little bit mysterious. Wise ass. Okay, yeah, and get used to it, this owl shows up a lot. I think even more than in Ocarina of Time. It does kind of make you wonder, does anybody on this island simply know how to build a ship for me to leave? Now here's the interesting thing, and at least off the top of my head, I actually do not remember this being a feature in any other Zelda game. I'm probably totally wrong on that. But this might be the first one at least. There's Moblins. They suck just as much like in the previous games. So yeah, while this music's going, it's kind of like getting a star power for a minute in Super Mario. And this particular one at Acorn, I just, you know, had defense up. I'll only take half as half as much damage, and this music probably lasts for like 30 seconds. Really not that big a deal. But yeah, what I was saying before, oh, and I can't lift this rock yet. Need a special item for that. But anyway, to my memory, this is the first Zelda game where you actually need to find keys beforehand in order to unlock dungeons. So that's the main purpose in the mysterious forest here. I need to find the key to level 1 and kind of really start my adventure. And this raccoon gives us a hint. For right now, he's kind of sort of evil, and he's like, ha, you know, I'm going to use magic to make you lost in this forest, and you'll never be able to find your way out. And there's a fairy pond, which of course we don't need right now. Actually, fairies, amazingly, are more detailed in appearance, I think, than in Super NES or NES Zelda games. That's, now that I think about it. They're actually larger than the sprites of Link and and pretty much all the enemies except bosses and such. Now, I'm going to need the feather, which I think is the special item that I find in the first dungeon, so we cannot go over this yet. I'm going to need to find another way around to it, and I actually believe in that chest we saw was the key to level 1, so we just need to find another way around. There's a heart container piece I can't get yet. And do not touch this, because this will happen. Right now, you are not able to lay a hand on that, or else you will get electrocuted. Now let's see, what was this witch's deal? Toadstool mix makes powder for tricks. Oh, I like it, she's rhyming there. I like how she's got a little pet mouse. He doesn't talk or anything, though. Now, here's kind of a minor annoyance with the game. As long as I do not have the power bracelet item needed to lift up heavy objects like this, if I so much as run into them by accident, this message comes up and I'm not able to skip it, if I recall. So what we have to do right now is find a toadstool in the forest, and we'll come back to this witch. And she'll make like some magic dust for us or something, and I sprinkle it on that raccoon's nose. He sneezes and becomes normal again, and he actually helps me find the way out of the forest along with the key. Oh, and you actually get these brief power-up items, the acorn and like the little Triforce piece or imitation Triforce piece. You actually get them quite a lot. You know, the acorn will enable you to have twice as much defense for the time being, and then that, I don't know, man-made Triforce piece, that'll increase your power by double for a while. These stones right here are actually movable on their own. We don't actually need a bracelet in order to... Oh, cool. 50 rubies. And I believe the other way out of this cave will lead us to the... treasure chest with the key. Now, apparently not every last one of these rocks can be moved normally. This one either... It was either I needed the power bracelet, even though of course you can't tell the difference between them in appearance. You can move these right here. Or I just needed to move it from another direction. They're not going to make it that easy for you to get the heart piece. Ah, and here's the toadstool. Now the problem is, even though you'd think that going around the treasure chest would be right there, well, still, there's another hole blocking the way, and I don't have the feather to jump over it, so we'll have to go all the way back to the witch here. And of course, Keese are also in this game, along with Autrox and Moblins. Oh! Hello! I like how even a sword thrust directly to Link's sternum, even now, only does half a heart of damage. I can take 5 more of that before I actually drop dead. I know, overanalyzing as usual. I don't even remember what these creatures are called, they're just kind of interesting. They're not aggressive or anything, they just don't like it if you try to kill them first. Okay, so let's go ahead and present the toadstool to her. It has the sleepy toadstool? Like, it has? She just called me an it. I like how the music kind of sped up as she's making the little potion thing. Oh, okay. The magic powder actually kind of maintains a relative use throughout the whole entire game. It's not just for this one little bit with the raccoon. And yeah, if you also sprinkle it on these whatever they're called, they'll I mean, I guess there's oil inside or something, so we'll actually light up the house, the environment. But anyway, it only has so many uses, so if you ever run out, you either need to find another toadstool, or I think there's like a more convenient way you can get more in the game. Might have been the shop or something. But let's go ahead and equip our sword back before I use it all up by accident. I don't remember if magic powder actually does damage to some enemies, or it kind of makes them confused for a minute, so it's easier to slay them. Well, let's go back down here. Actually, I could swear there was a way to, quick way to, go through some of the messages that come up constantly. Anyway, here's the raccoon, so all we gotta do, sprinkle the powder on him. And Link's like, what's going on? Oh, it's Marin. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed the trip, old man. I'm just gonna leave you here. So now, because the raccoon's gone, you know, we go up the screen normally, and it'll actually take us to the correct place instead of, you know, teleporting us elsewhere in the forest. What I also thought was kind of an interesting idea, even though they play a relatively minor part in the game, is just the fact that instead of hunting for Triforce pieces or anything like that, your the actual main item to find at the end of every dungeon in this game is an actual instrument. It's like a magical instrument that Al calls them wind instruments, and you actually need, like, you know, the first 8. There's 8 dungeons in this game, with the small one at the end, which I guess you can call a 9th dungeon to wake up the windfish. But in the first 8, you actually have to find like a different instrument at the end of each one, and you'll need all 8. You know, you'll need 8 in all in order to like play this song that wakes up the windfish, and he, you know, carts you off the island, and boom, game 1. Oh, these temporary power boosts actually last a lot longer than I remember. I also like how it's like you're hitting the enemy extra hard, so they end up kind of being knocked all the way across the screen and explode. Alright, I believe the first dungeon is right here. So, next time when we get back into Link's Awakening, we'll go through all level 1, and hopefully you all will enjoy the journey as much as I know that I did many times as a child. So, until next time.